When British scientists first received a preserved platypus specimen in the late 1700s, several of them assumed it was an elaborate hoax, a duck's bill stitched onto the body of some kind of mole. It wasn't a hoax. It was simply an animal that broke almost every rule they thought defined a mammal. And more than 2 centuries later, it's still doing exactly that. The platypus is one of only 5 living species of Monotreme, the small group of mammals that lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young. A female platypus lays 1 to 3 soft-shelled eggs, incubates them for around 10 days, and once the young hatch, feeds them milk, not through nipples, which platypuses don't have, but through specialized patches of skin that secrete milk directly onto the mother's fur, where the young lap it up. Egg laying and milk production in the same animal already sounds like a contradiction. It isn't the strangest thing about this species. Male platypuses carry a sharp, hollow spur on each hind ankle, connected to a venom gland capable of delivering a dose potent enough to cause severe, lasting pain in a full-grown human. Unlike snake venom, which can often be neutralized with antivenin, platypus venom produces pain that has been documented resisting standard morphine treatment entirely, with some human victims reporting swelling and debilitating pain lasting for weeks after a single sting. No other mammal on Earth delivers venom through a dedicated anatomical structure quite like this one. Here's the part that took researchers decades longer to properly understand, and it's the reason platypus venom exists at all. The venom isn't primarily a hunting or self-defense tool the way most venomous animals use theirs. It's concentrated almost entirely in males, and venom production and potency spike dramatically during breeding season. Specifically, leading researchers to conclude its main function is competition between rival males over access to females, essentially a weapon built for fighting members of its own species rather than for hunting prey or fending off predators. That's a genuinely unusual evolutionary role for venom to play, since in most venomous animals, prey capture or predator defense are the primary functions, with any use against rivals being secondary at best. The platypus's other defining feature might be even stranger than the venom, and it involves that duck-like bill early scientists were so suspicious of. The bill isn't just a feeding tool. It's covered in thousands of specialized receptors capable of detecting the tiny electrical field generated by muscle contractions in nearby prey. Hunting entirely underwater with its eyes, ears, and nostrils sealed shut for the duration of every dive, a platypus relies completely on this electroreception to locate shrimp, insect larvae, and small invertebrates buried in riverbed sediment, essentially hunting blind, deaf, and unable to smell anything, using a sense most mammals don't have any version of at all. Combine all of this, and you get an animal that lays eggs like a reptile, produces milk like a mammal, delivers venom through a specialized spur almost no other mammal has, and hunts using an electrical sense typically associated with sharks and certain fish rather than anything with fur. Researchers studying the platypus genome have found it carries a genuinely unusual mix of reptilian, avian, and mammalian genetic traits, evidence of an evolutionary lineage that split off from other mammals an extraordinarily long time ago, before most of the traits we now consider standard for mammals had become fixed across the group. None of this makes the platypus fragile or primitive, despite how unusual it looks on paper. It's a highly specialized, successful predator within its specific ecological niche, freshwater systems across eastern Australia and Tasmania, and every one of its seemingly contradictory traits serves a specific functional purpose within that environment, egg-laying included. So the next time someone describes an animal as just a mammal, remember that mammal is a much wider category than most people assume, wide enough to include an egg-laying, venom-injecting, electricity-sensing animal that genuinely made trained scientists question whether it was real the first time they saw one. If you'd never learned what a platypus actually was and someone described one to you feature by feature, at what point in that description do you think you would have stopped believing them? Tell me in the comments and subscribe to NatureCrest for more deep dives into the animal kingdom's most extraordinary and most misunderstood creatures.